Welcome to the World Football Summit podcast, the show for football industry leaders who want to stay ahead of the game. We bring you the latest insights, trends, and stories from the experts driving innovation and progress in sports business worldwide. Join us as we dive deep into the ideas and initiatives transforming the world of football. From sustainability and innovation to player development, fan engagement, and everything in between. Our goal is to unite the global football industry and drive positive change and progress. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the World Football Summit podcast. I'm your host, Jaime, CMO at World Football Summit. Today, I am thrilled to welcome Liam Scully, CEO of Lincoln City FC, who is going to give us a masterclass on what running a football club in England implies. We specifically talk about the core elements of the sports business model, embracing innovation to find new sources of growth, the keys to successful stadium experience strategy, which, is the driver of the other elements of the sports business model, and an overview of the football industry in the UK. I enjoyed this one a lot, and I'm pretty sure you will too, so make sure you stick around. Before going into it though, don't forget to subscribe and rate the podcast on your platform of choice and share it with your industry colleagues. You can also subscribe to our newsletter, where every week we send updates, trends, and everything that goes on at our events. You can find the link in the show notes. Hopefully, you'll check our website out where we have all the information about our upcoming events, and hopefully we'll meet you there. Anyway, nothing else from me. Let's welcome Liam Scully from Lincoln City to the show. Well, Liam, welcome to the World Football Summit podcast. I think the audience is in a, good position to learn a lot from you today about running a football club, about, generally the industry over there in the UK. So really excited to welcome you to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for having me. Pleasure to be with you.
Well, before we go into all the different topics that we're going to discuss today, I was wondering if you could briefly introduce yourself. And Liam, I always like to ask my guests, why is it that you do what you do? Why a career in football?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Start with the tough ones. So I was, as I suppose most young men in the UK, growing up playing football, wanting to be a footballer. I was actually a goalkeeper. So obviously for podcast people won't see, but I'm not quite 6 foot. Just never really grew and was released out of the system before it gets to the point where it can become a serious career. So that was really disappointing. I was very fortunate to be given one of the first apprenticeships by the PFA, Professional Footballers Association, in the non-football side. So in coaching and in community development. And I started that placement at Doncaster Rovers in 2001. And without boring the life out of everyone, I basically had a 17-year journey with a short sabbatical at Doncaster Rovers, and then the wider Club Doncaster group saw me to take various different roles, from working from the shop floor up, really, and left as Group Chief Operating Officer in 2017 before coming to Lincoln City at that time. And yeah, I think very blessed, very fortunate. Love every day working in football. It has its moments. It's like a roller coaster. But yeah, I can't say I ever set out to go on this path. But I certainly have loved every single moment of it, and very blessed, very fortunate to work in this industry.
Wow, didn't know you were a goalkeeper. Interesting stuff.
Not many people do see me.
But anyway, Liam, this is a business podcast, no? And I was wondering if you could, maybe we can start off by just describing the pillars of the sport business model of Lincoln City, and maybe how is it different from a larger club?
Yeah, I think what's really important with any football club is to realise that these are living, breathing souls. They're entities that, Lincoln City is 139, nearly 140 years old. And the history, the relationship it has with the fans, the city, its wider community is incredibly important. So I think whenever you look at a football club, it's really difficult to say, here's the blueprint of a successful football club, and here's all you have to do, copy this, and you will be successful. And the reason why that's a challenge is, like I said, because every football club is different, has different history, has different motivations, and it means different things to different people. I think the first thing for us is our relationship with the community and understanding that incredibly important part. Lincolnshire is a beautiful part of England. It's not on the main routes anywhere. It's slightly off what we'd call the beaten track. And Lincoln is the capital of Lincolnshire. So, we're the county's, it's a really important part for the county. But the pillars for us are ultimately about how we bring civic pride to the city and the county of Lincolnshire, how we help the business community and work with the business community in order to further our own aims and objectives, as well as the city of Lincoln and, the county of Lincolnshire. And then that's with a real clear sporting philosophy in terms of how we bring players in pre-peak, we develop them hopefully into their peak, and we enjoy the successes together. So there are a number of components, but at the very, very centre and the core of it is making the people of Lincoln and Lincolnshire proud of their football club.
It's interesting because I asked you about the differences between Lincoln City and the larger clubs. And I was having a conversation on the podcast with Peter Moore, former CEO at Liverpool. And I asked him about a framework for how he described his role as a CEO of Liverpool. And he said, well, it's the 4 C's. It's community, civic, it's commercial. I don't remember the last one, but he did say that the most important for him was community, which is the first one you actually highlighted, which is actually interesting to see that despite the difference in let's say, business size, you guys prioritize the same thing. And hey, seems you're on a right track if you follow his footsteps, I guess, right? Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Not a bad model to follow for sure.
But one question though, because I mean, you obviously don't have as big of a budget as probably, at Liverpool, for example, right? I guess it must be difficult to kind of balance, like, the financial sustainability of a club like Lincoln City with being able to achieve a high level of performance. So how do you balance those two things?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is everything is relative. So you're absolutely right. We cannot compare Liverpool to Lincoln City. We compete in League One. We immediately benchmark ourselves against our divisional competitors. But what we do have to do when you are a little bit more reverse-like is I think you just have to be a bit more prescriptive and just be very clear in terms of what you're trying to achieve. So whilst, let's continue the analogy and looking at Liverpool, whilst, they would have multiple departments, the depth within their departments or within their structures, will probably run, extremely deep. I think what we have to do at our level is just understand what we're going to major on. And we've all read, we've all heard the book and, what makes the boat go faster. But that fundamentally is the principle and the question that we ask ourselves in every single decision that we make. What is going to make the boat go faster? What's going to make the difference? And, that can lead to some really fun conversations. So, for example, as we head into this summer, we're just looking at our capital program at the football club. So what infrastructure, what do we need to do to enhance the football club? And, we are literally having a conversation between the groundsman and our director of operations and our commercial team, because the groundsman wants a new lawnmower, and we had to understand how that relates to performance, not just how it helps the groundsman, do his job better. But then equally on the other side of it, the commercial director, wants a renovated lounge in order to be able to sell increased hospitality packages. And then we've got to understand, actually, when you look at all the components, there's only a finite amount of resource, which is the element, or where are the elements that are going to shift the dial or help us make the most progress as a football club. So the challenge is always been making sure that we don't look at things as segmented directorates. We actually continuously look at the whole. And like I say, what is going to improve performance? What is then going to bring that commercial benefit that then brings and helps enhance that performance? So it is cyclical, and it's understanding where you're going to put the catalyst in order to help shift the dial and move things forward. And yeah, as CEO, my role is often to arbitrate and facilitate those discussions. And they're always incredibly healthy. People are passionate about what they do, and they're passionate and care that they want to make a difference as well.
Seems obvious, right? I mean, but sometimes it's one of those basic things that people in the industry miss, how improving performance is just what opens the door to everything else. Because if you improve performance, you're going to increase probably attendance to the stadium. And then to me, the attendance, even though it's probably never going to be, and I've discussed it with other leaders in the industry, it's never going to be the biggest source of revenue. But it is going to be the door opener to more commercial partnerships, and even when you get to a certain point, to broadcasting, because the podcasters are going to be able to see that there's interest in that team, right? So it's just, it seems the basic element, but not everybody understands that, right? But I was going to ask Lincoln about Lincoln City's mission of win and develop. Because I've heard you speak about this in the past, and I'm curious to see what that is about.
Yeah, so win develop is our North Star. So our anchor point, and every decision has to relate to, does it help us win, or can it help us develop? And I think what happens certainly in the football industry, it's very easy to treat those two elements as binary, or elements that operate at opposite end of the spectrum. And for us, we don't believe that's true. Win and develop, win develop can be achieved simultaneously. At times, you might not be 100% in the win category, and you have to have a balanced scorecard. And equally, you have to look at that medium-term strategy and that development. And then the other misconception is that is purely looking at footballers and the 11 blokes that run around the green rectangle on the 90 minutes on a Saturday. And it's not. It's a philosophy, and it's an approach that runs through the football club. But to start with the concept and talk about football for a moment, this is our approach is typical. Like say, sign players pre-peak. We have one of the youngest squads in the division, often quite regularly the youngest starting 11s. We have a small but talented squad, and the aim with working with the players through the pre-peak is to really work with them, develop them into their peak. Now, hopefully what happens on that journey is that we and we join the successes together, and we enjoy success and we grow together. But we also have to be really cognizant and aware that there's a jumping off point. And actually one of the things that I think we're relatively skillful at, working with players and agents, is as players are coming into our building, we choreograph and we really understand what those pathways look like and what those various jumping off points are based on different scenarios. And that leads to, there's no ambiguity. I think there's real clarity in terms of what we're trying to achieve. And one of the options is if you go faster than us, there's the trading model there that we sell at the division. But as I say, just to be really clear, that isn't just about the football. We from the media side, obviously in relationship to this, we're incredibly proud that many of our alumni, have go on and work in the highest level of sports business. So, from the Premier League, people that are working in Formula One and various other elements. Because that's the philosophy throughout the whole football club. We aim to be a development club. We grow, and we share in the successes together. And the people that leave us, we're not sad because they've left us. We're happy that they had their time with us, and they instantly become the poster boys and poster girls for our recruitment and for the next wave. So I think, we take a very open and pragmatic approach to the fact that, we're going to be a club that develop people, develop our infrastructure, develop and grow together, and that helps us win. And I think that's the core philosophy that we abide by every single day.
Mm-hmm. Interesting, and it's good to see that you guys have that clear North Star at the end of the day, right? It goes back to what you were mentioning a little bit before, which is focus, and that's your focus, and that's probably gonna. And hey, the results are there, no? And if I'm mistaken, please correct my if my research is wrong, but I think you grew revenues by about 200%, which is just amazing, no? And I guess this begs the question for me is, okay, how has that financial performance evolved during your time at the club to achieve those remarkable results?
Yeah, and so I think first and foremost, there was a real we had to. When I came in, the club had been in the National League for a number of years, and we'd re-entered the Football League. And what naturally comes with that is there's increased commerciality, increased number of eyeballs, and the opportunity that presents itself. And I think what the first challenge was that we were and we to some degree we still are, but quite inventory led. When actually what we're looking at it's more about a value proposition. It's more about understanding, where we can add value. So, for example, when Lincoln City are on TV, Destination Lincolnshire, Visit Lincolnshire, so the tourism part for the county, they receive the biggest number of clicks and hits on their website than they do versus any other paid campaign that they can do. And instantly, as a tourism city and as a tourism county, we're trying to evidence, and we are evidencing, how that is bringing the economic impact and what that is bringing to the city of Lincoln and county of Lincolnshire. Lincoln City has an untraditional fan base. 23% of our fans travel from more than an hour and a half away, our most regular fans. That's partly because the county is quite large. But second of all, because there's lots of people that have grown up in the city and in the county and then have moved away to maybe some of the bigger cities for their profession and their trade, but they're incredibly loyal when they come back. So again, what we know with the away crowds that attend, with our 22% plus of those home fans that come most regularly, lots of people behave like day trippers. So it's not just about coming into the city for the game. They're taking 2-3 hour drives, train journeys, whatever method of transport it may be, to come into the city. So then you look at the bars, the restaurants, the cafes, and you just see that wider impact. Now, what we're trying to do, working with the University of Lincoln and others, is study that, understand the movement, and then understand that whole value proposition of how Lincoln City's impact isn't just about, the hour before the game and the hour after the game. It's understanding that whole movement. So from the eyeballs on from our TV games right through to actually the behaviour of the fans, the direct behaviour of the fans that are coming into the city. So there are layers upon layers. And I think in terms of how we've grown that revenue, it's just because as we've become more sophisticated and as we've taken a data-driven approach to understanding that turnkey and that full approach to our match days and what Lincoln City Football Club does, then we've got the ability to both commercialise that, but in a way that it's also sensitive to the big partners, commercial partners, because it's about growing their element as well. So that's how, it's never been a land or never been about that. It's about growing the value and understanding how we all share and how we go that as part of Lincoln City being successful.
Wow. So you're actually covering a very long fan journey, if you will, given that the fan has to travel. I mean, that's just an amazing stat. 20%, you said, no, the fans actually travel from more than an hour and a half. Wow. I guess that forces you a little bit to think deeper about the entire fan engagement initiatives that you guys do, right? So I don't know if there's any specific example that you want to highlight on that front of how you do that, or is it just a matter of involving the city and anything you can share, really?
Yeah, so I think the one of the fundamental elements is not purely looking at it grossly and straightly from saying, how do we get the fans into the stadium, drinking our beer, eating our food as early as possible. This is actually a turnkey approach to the overall experience. So when you strip football back, we're in the business of creating experience and memories. Most often than not, it's the players on the pitch scoring those last minute winners or those last minute blocks on the line or whatever it may be that create those experience and memories. They're going to be 80-90% of the experience and memories. But then it's our job to pad around that and make that holistic experience, exactly what the fans, going to want. And within a stadium and within a demographic, you have very different expectations of what fans want. We talk quite regularly about, we have everything from a theatre style audience. So from those that want, that are going to come in, their experience is going to be very different. They almost want concierge service. They want to be, have their seat, exactly where they're going to be seated. They want, the food and beverage versus, you have those that are going to come, jump up and down for 90 minutes, be part of, the large singing sections and probably get covered in beer at some point. And we've got to kind of cater for all of that. And we've got to map those customer profiles and those fan journeys. And, and I know it's such a scary when you start talking about fans as customers, but the reason and the only reason why you have to manage that is fans are fans. So let's be really clear that we have to treat them as customers as well. Because if you just, take them for granted and expect that they're going to turn up and you don't have to provide them a full experience, that's when you go wrong. So the only reason we would reference fans as customers is about our internal behaviours and our methodology to ensure that we're providing value to them. So very simple initiatives, things like the junior takeover, where we have a match day dedicated every year from myself to the head coach. We're all shadowed by a junior all day, and they take over. They run the football club, and they get an experience, and hopefully an experience and memory that lives with them for a lifetime. And they tell their children and their grandchildren, But what they also do is they give you fantastic feedback. So it only takes the whole team will tell you 15 minutes of walking around with a junior before a game, and they'll ask you loads of questions. 4 or 5 of them that, you're quite easy to answer. And a lot of them will be quite difficult because they see things through different eyes. And a lot of the ideas that we've implemented have come through just pokey questions from our juniors or people that are just experiencing the game through a different lens. And you realize that they have good ideas. So I think it's that holistic approach to actually how we create the experience. And I think the thing that I'm most proud of at Lincoln City is that it's cultural. So when I first came into the football club, it was a strategy. We had to write it down. We had to write KPIs. We had to kind of have post-it notes to bring the ideas. Whereas now that is completely organic, and across the whole workforce and across the whole team, those mining of ideas and those implementation of change, those marginal gains, that is cultural. And that, I think that's probably the thing that we're most proud of because that impacts all areas.
Well, you should be proud of that because that's very difficult to achieve. And I actually liked your answer a lot because it's about keeping things simple at the end of the day. You're not doing grandiose things. And don't get me wrong, sometimes the simplest things are the ones that are going to work best. And it's just a matter of understanding journey. You talked about different segments, which is also important to do. Just nothing too complicated. It seems obvious, no? But sometimes the non-obvious, simple things are the ones that are actually more successful. And I guess I'm wondering, another key pillar of this word business model is the commercial strategy. So do you keep that same approach, just like keeping things simple with your commercial partners? Or let's say, what has been, the keys to success that you've seen from a commercial side?
Yeah, so I think that in terms of the commercial growth, we as the football club's grown and as we've become, hopefully from a regional to national to then hopefully, an international entity at some point on our journey. It's about knowing your partners and understanding, what's value for them and ultimately how we grow together. One of the stories I have to tell you, it was before my time, but Lincoln City were the first post-war team to reach the quarterfinals of the FA Cup as a non-league team in 2016, 2017. And the front of shirt sponsor, the game at Highbury, at the Emirates, was a local company that had been supporting the football club. The MD, Neil Everett, was a huge fan of the club. And in theory, this was their big day out because their sponsorship of the football club wasn't for any commercial benefit. They were doing it as kind of loyal people for the local business community, spread a bit of awareness, but fundamentally it was almost giving back to the city. And that was his and that was their moment to see their shirts, at the Emirates live on TV. And he actually gave that opportunity up when the club was approached about having a single one-off sponsor for that game. And it generated 6 figures worth of revenue for the football club in that one-off item. And I think that's where you look at the history of the football club and what makes it special and understanding that you have to be in sync and you have to be in time with that. Because that is, for me, that is the most remarkable gesture that local businessmen would give up their opportunity to be on the front of shirt in an FA Cup quarterfinal at the Emirates. But that shows you kind of the deep bond and the relationship that we have with the business community. So at that point, if Liam Scully comes into the football club and we start reaching out to national and international businesses and we just discard those sponsors and those partners that had worked with us, I think that would be an incredibly crass and very short-term move. And ultimately, what we have to do is we have to understand how we serve that commercial support base. And people want everything from the experiential side, so the pride element. So to say that my company was on the front of Lincoln City shirt, right through to our naming right partners, LNR Stadium, or Brownston Potatoes, who are our front of shirt, and University of Lincoln. That they are far more data-driven, looking at the growth in terms of how we purely, a more traditional sponsorship, maybe you would say, how we drive revenue and how we drive growth in their businesses. So we have everything in our portfolio, from those that were taking a data-driven approach to how we, create more journeys on LNR trains, right through to those experiential fans, that it's about pride, it's about experience, and it's about being able to show that they've been a supporter of the club. And it's ensuring that we have an elegant enough strategy that can cope for everything within that spectrum. If I come in and if we come in and just kind of take a pure gross commercial strategy to this, we'll quickly fall flat on our face. And I think that the elegance of the way that we approach things is the most important, and the nuance of understanding how we cater and deliver for all. And that's been both analog and digital. And that's making sure that we don't forget those analog clients and partners, even though we are vastly trying to move into that digital era.
Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, they're part of the community, partners. And this is, we started speaking about community, and that means understanding their objectives, why they're supporting you, where they want to go. And obviously, as much as you can achieve a win-win situation, it seems obvious again, no? But it's going to help you at least develop a long-term relationship, which is give you stability over the long run, which is for a club like Lincoln, I imagine it's key, right? To just have as many or avoid as much risk as possible, no?
Yeah, and that's the challenge. When you talk about a comparison to, say, a Liverpool or a Lincoln, we don't have the greatest amount of bandwidth. We our reserves and our ability, if we get things wrong, we have to take risks. We have to be entrepreneurial. We have to try and at times shift the dial, but we've got to have a balanced approach to our risk, because if we load things too much in one category, and that all falls wrong, then that could be catastrophic. And I think that's incredibly important too. And the other thing is, as much as we try really hard, we cannot guarantee winning football. We want to, but it's the one thing that we definitely can't control. So it's making sure that, like I say again, without labouring it, we just have that holistic approach and are mindful of how we provide value across all our partnerships, and whatever we're doing, and take that bespoke approach.
Mm-hmm. And as we were mentioning before, many of the partners are interested in seeing that the community and the fans are engaged, and one measure to see that is match attendance. And if I'm not mistaken, you have an average of 9,000 people attending the matches in a stadium that has capacity for 11,000, which is very good results, if you let me. So how do you, what's your strategy or initiatives that you're doing to enhance that experience at the stadium? Because we've talked about what happens before the game, those 20% of fans traveling from outside and, just spending the day. But what happened within the stadium?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we believe is a strong part of our identity, and we talk about our identity a lot, is a full and vibrant stadium. And one of the things that I enjoy the most is, like, our fans genuinely make a difference to helping us recruit and retain players. When Lincoln City are on song, the LNER Stadium and Sinsel Bank is a fantastic place to play football. It's one of the best atmospheres in English football, and I compare that, amongst the very, very best from Liverpool, Newcastle, Leeds United, Rangers, Celtic. We are absolutely up there in terms of that environment, that experience. We often talk with opposition players, coaches about what that's like. So a full and vibrant stadium is important to us. It is actually part of our model. We don't want 5,000 empty seats. Nobody does. But in the same breath, we whilst there's plenty of games that we probably could have sold, we could have sold more seats for, we don't see that as lost or missed opportunity. We see that as part of the performance structure that most Saturdays and most Tuesday nights we have that full stadium cheering the team on. But then that creates problems when you look at our aging infrastructure, when you look at that experiential piece, when effectively there is very little headroom in order to kind of provide that. And I think that's where what we've done, various initiatives over the time, from we had a huge seat swap exercise where we started to kind of segment different parts of the stadium, because the football club grew so quickly from 2016 to 2021. We really had I don't think this translates too well, but a mismatch of where people were sat. It was almost people land grabbed and just took seats wherever they could. And we ended up having the ultras almost in with people that wanted to sit down and enjoy the game in a very different experience. So one of the biggest projects that we actually had was just rezoning and kind of moving the stadium around, especially when people had been, attached to their seat and their location. I think we did that in a way that was sensitive enough. But the whole aim is, even though it's a small stadium, even though we're crammed to capacity, we still want to be able to bespoke that experience, and we still want to be able to get that right. Our ticketing team spend a lot of time working with new fans, people coming into the stadium for the first time, ensuring that they've bought their ticket in the right place. Because there's nothing worse than somebody coming in and being in the wrong part of the stadium and their first experience not being right there. And then after we've done that then looks at that holistic wider experience from the food and beverage, in the flow of that, from how you get from, we're city centre with no car park, more than limited, to what would your full journey look like from public transport up from the car park and back. All of those bits that we have to actively work. But the first thing to start with is that experience within the stadium, and why that you leave every match day wanted to come back and wanting more, whether it's your 350th game or your first game. That's the most important element for us.
I fully agree. In fact, it makes me think about conversations I've had with people from Borussia Dortmund or Liverpool on the show. If you think about those two stadiums, part of I would say even their brand essence, if you will, to put it on the marketing terms. I'm a marketing guy, so I need to find marketing related concepts, is that stadium experience. So it makes complete sense that you're also trying to focus on that and make it as an unforgettable experience as possible, because it drives emotion, and those emotions are what actually makes fans be fans and potentially customers, as you said, right? So in that regard, though, and you're also working on a stadium redevelopment project, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know if you can tell us more about that project. That I think, is it going to be finished by this summer? Is that true, or am I mistaken?
Yes. So this is the for Lincoln City, this is the biggest stadium development in a generation, and we're incredibly proud to be working with a range of partners to deliver it. But Jamie, here's I guess it's proof of concept for what we've talked about. Very little of this development is actually about the match day. The majority of it is about our community and serving our community. So the Stacey West Community Hub will open this summer, and effectively it's the new home. It's a new base for the Lincoln City Foundation that do fantastic work within our community. This is about growing our reach, growing our offer, and growing our abilities to serve the community of Lincolnshire with their needs across all areas. And, we are on many, many occasions changing lives within the county of Lincolnshire with the offer that Lincoln City Foundation delivers. And in some cases, I promise you this isn't, corny or glib, but we're saving lives. And we have everything running from extra time hubs. The best way to describe them are youth clubs for older people. We have everything from dementia cafes. We have cancer care programs, so people that are living with or in remission from cancer. We're the only provider, despite having quite a migrant population that come and work in Lincolnshire, we're the only free provider of English speaking lessons in the city of Lincolnshire. And that's, the hub that we're building is about creating more space and the more ability to be able to do that. And that might be our first touch point with our fans and with the community. But that's part of the overall journey to getting people into the stadium on a match day. Without going into the really boring stuff, the development also is helping us with our sustainability. So from rainwater harvesting, how we manage our power, our infrastructure. People won't believe you when I tell you this, but prior to this development, we used to run out of water at half time when the groundsman was trying to water the pitch. All 10,000 fans were trying to use the taps and flush the toilets and the catering plants. That's real life lower league football at times in an aging stadium. So these developments then enhance the fan experience. It's not quite 21st century, but by just ensuring that we have, we have, all the mod cons and everything that the wider fan experience wants. And then very, very quickly, just to talk to you about it, the Stacey West Stand and the Stacey West Hub. Bill Stacey, Jim West are two fans that sadly perished in the Bradford fire disaster, 1985 in England. Lincoln City versus Bradford City, where tragically there was a stadium fire and 56 fans, lost their lives, and two of them from Lincoln City, and they will never be forgotten. So this continues that legacy, their legacy, and the fact that they will, and this stand and the development will serve the community of Lincolnshire for long after my time at the football club, which I hope is for a lot longer than more. But yeah, that's incredibly important for us. So hopefully, what it is further evidence that we're walking the talk when we say how serious we are about our community.
I was just going to say that, because one thing is to say that you're focused on the community, but those examples are actually just proof that you're walking the talk. And I think for anybody listening, when you have that commitment to making things happen from a community standpoint, it's just amazing what you can achieve. And it should be part of the playbook that any CEO, as we were discussing before with Peter Moore, should have, no? And another interesting thing you said that I don't want people to miss is you said, we're not doing complicated stuff. We're actually focusing on what the fan wants. And that's just so important. Why? I mean, especially in today's world where there's so many things going around in terms of technology and in terms of, what could happen. But at the end of the day, where is your fan? And understanding where he or she is in their fan journey and their relationship with the club is going to determine what you actually do, right? So I think that's another important lesson that people should not miss. So thank you for that, Liam. But we've discussed about the traditional sports business model. We talked about fan experience. We talked about commercial. We talked about, but I guess for a club like Lincoln City, you also need to find ways to innovate, to find new sources of growth. So, how are you approaching innovation within the traditional sports business model? Any lessons you can share there?
Yeah. So again, looking at our golden threads, innovation is one of those areas. We have a member of staff that is dedicated to innovation, and Luke and the media team are definitely going to kick me for this. But for starting at next football season year, that's going to be an even more senior position within the football club, and we're going to have a chief of innovation and growth. And that spans across the football, the non-football side of things. It's looking at of how we grow revenues, but equally how we look and sorry for corny, but outside of the box, look at new markets, look at things that are going on, because we actually have two polar opposite ends of the spectrum when we look at our business principles. So one of the things that we talk about every single day is brilliant basics. So doing the basics brilliantly goes a long way, and they are ultimately what we would call our bread and butter that deliver 80-90% of the success. The je ne sais quoi, the eye of the tiger, whatever you want to call it, the stardust is that innovation piece, and that's where we have to marry the two together. If we spend our time operating in la la land and everything is ridiculously aspirational, ridiculously woolly and fluffy, completely out of reach, we'll fall flat on our face very quickly. Equally, if we operate exclusively in the space of just doing the brilliant basics all the time, we will struggle to achieve the growth. And I think my job as CEO is about choreographing the balance between the two. So making sure that there is a commitment to the brilliant basics. There is a commitment to deliver the same things in a real rhythm without fail every single match day, every single day. But equally then that we just sprinkle that stardust and we look at those opportunities. And I think if you say what's the biggest challenge for a CEO, I think it's understanding how you choreograph and how you facilitate those two ends of the spectrum at times in a small organization. Because let's be really clear, these are often the same people that we're asking to think very differently. So that comes into molding, that comes into how we frame our meetings, the different structures, different kind of techniques that we have to ensure our people are in a different space at a different time. But yeah, we have to always focus on, those what moves the dial and what moves the dial quickly and differently to our competitors. And they're often the fun ones as well. We have some great fun when we get in that innovation space, that is for sure.
Yeah, but to your point, the basics are important. And I don't know if this is a correct analogy, but I'm just thinking if you look at football as a game, you need to have your basics right, your tactics, your defense. At the end of the day, what's going to make the difference is to be able to score a goal. So I would say the basics are, the tactics, the defense, the schemes and all of that. And then you just have a good forward help there who scores the goal. That's going to be your innovation piece. Something that I think people should not miss on this answer is the word commitment. And that's another important C. The way you're proving that commitment is by actually having someone from the staff being responsible for innovation. Now, I want to highlight that because I've had many conversations about innovation with other clubs around Europe and the world. Not many have someone fully dedicated to innovation. It usually falls within, it's either the marketing guy or the operations guy, or it's divided among the different roles. And I think it's such an important piece that it needs its own role within the organization. So congratulations on being, I guess, a pioneer on that end, and actually being committed to innovation by actually having someone responsible for it. You know, and I don't know if there's any like areas where you see the most potential in terms of, I guess I want to call it innovation, but anything that you believe in the future is going to, break the rules a little bit of the traditional sports business model.
Yeah, I think so. So one of the things I'm most proud of, there was an article in the Athletic that said, what do Eintracht Frankfurt, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Borussia Dortmund, and Lincoln City have in common? And that was the fact that we have people dedicated to innovation. Yeah, I think what you can see is when we look at kind of sports performance, or when we look at the growth of the commercial entity, I think that the element that we do have is that we have an ability to go direct to market, and we have an ability to model and to try out new software that ultimately are the person, our team that leads innovation, and growth talks about, product market fit a lot. And we have, the product, we can have the market, and we can find that fit. And there's not many industries, certainly when you look at startups, they may have the product, they don't have the market, and you don't know about the fit. And I think that's the thing that is really special about a football club when we start talking about innovation, working with startups, particularly looking at, incubation hubs and things like that for startups. We have all three parts of that journey, what makes a successful startup. I can't talk about too many of the things that we're working on at Minix. Quite a lot of them are under kind of NDAs and various other norms. But the spectrum is everything from looking at sports performance, from sleep, from lighting, to everything in that space, technology in terms of how that interacts, right through to, that turnkey and experience. Jenny, one of the things I did want to just quickly go back on is you talked about that commitment. And I think a lot of leaders in business, and in particular sports, we always jump to that we want real commitment in our organization. But for me, you can't have commitment until you have two other basic principles. And that's a journey. It's understanding, it's alignment, and then commitment. And you can't have commitment until you have alignment. And that's within your team. So at the moment you have one person in your team going against, whether that's because they don't believe in it, they don't think it's right, whatever it may be, you do not have that commitment, in particular with a small organization. So the journey to commitment has to go through alignment. And the journey to get to alignment has to be understanding. And we don't spend a lot of time, in my opinion, particularly about gathering that understanding. So why are we doing this? So a lot of leaders and a lot of football clubs, in particular when we deal with the junior members of staff, we tell them what to do, but not why we're doing that. So one of the absolute principles of our football club is every piece of innovation, everything that we change, every process or protocol, be it from a brilliant basic right through to something that's going to be in the innovation space. It's about understanding, it's about alignment, and it's commitment. Understand why we're doing it. Get real alignment from the stakeholders, people that are going to influence it. Be really clear what your role within that piece is. And then we get the commitment to deliver it, not just in the day one or week one, to deliver it when nobody's watching on a wet, cold Wednesday, when you're the last person in the office and all you want to do is go home. But you've just got to finish that task or that piece of work. That's when you get commitment. But you only get the commitment if you have the three stages. So understanding, alignment, commitment.
That was awesome, Liam. I love that because I'm actually a big fan of frameworks, and I've actually never heard it spelled out like that, but it's totally true. First, you need understanding, and it goes back to what you were mentioning before. I think we have to understand what the fan wants or what the customer wants. Depends, no?
Yeah.
Understanding behavior goes before any application of technology, and this is something I've discussed with other leaders in the past, including Tim Jagger from Engraft, which you referenced before, and we've had him on the show as well. And then alignment is just so key across the entire organization, because if not, it's kind of like building a castle, if you will, with cards. If one of them is not aligned, everything's going to fall down. And then exactly, once everybody is aligned and they understand why we're doing things, that's when you get, the entire commitment. And that's what going to make, initiatives succeed. So yeah, thank you for that. And I guess now, I want to segue a little bit, because the reality of the club changes a little bit. Because if I'm not mistaken, Liquid Investments is going to initially take an equity stake. I think it's around, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's like at 12.6%, something like that. So what are your expectations in terms of, their involvement, what's going to mean for the club from a business perspective?
Yeah, so in terms of Liquid Investment, that's Ron Fowler, the former executive chairman of San Diego Padres, as well as his son Andrew Fowler. They have incredible experience across many areas, both within sports business. They were also a huge distributor for various different alcoholic brands across the west coast of the States. And also we have the Jabera family as well, who are also minority investors within the San Diego Padres. One other thing that we were incredibly fortunate to do is we also have Landon Donovan as a special advisor as part of the football club.
Nice.
When you go to LA Galaxy, there's two statues. There's a Landon Donovan statue and there's a David Beckham statue.
Mm-hmm. He's a legend.
Landon has done in the US soccer is incredible. And what we have been afforded is we've been afforded opportunities with the senior executive team, San Diego Padres, LA Galaxy, San Diego Loyal. Sadly, they're no longer with us anymore as an enterprise, as well as other kind of top business leaders. So even within our board of directors on our own, the vice chairman's Jay Wright, CEO of Virgin Wines. We have David Lowe's, former chief marketing officer of Samsung Europe, led the Unilever marketing teams for a number of years. Greg Levine, who was part of the marketing team that launched McLaren P1 car and brought that into the UK. So we have great innovators and we have some really high caliber non-execs, board members, investors that work with. And I guess my biggest challenge is living up to their expectation, but equally, mining them for information. They gladly share things that work, things that don't, and then building that into a Lincoln City context. So as a quick example, we can try a load of strategies from McLaren that Greg could give us from a marketing point of view, but I'm not quite sure our target audience and their target audience would align. But there are principles within that we can adopt and we can learn. So, and it's not just taking the playbook, grabbing it, and then just saying, let's put red and white stripes and call it Lincoln Cities. But it's about understanding those opportunities. So going back to specifically on Fowler Liquid Investment, it's going to be more opportunity for that high level learning, the highest level of business. San Diego Padres, that the rebrand, or going back to the branding of the brown, the iconic status, one of the, they average over 40,000 fans, however many regular season games that they play. So the whole engagement piece that they do there is just plenty more learning. So of course we'll benefit from, a helpful amount of capital in order to enhance various elements. But actually the true value is just going to come from Ron and Andrew, the Jabera family, all their network and stakeholders, just how we then mine that IP and how we then bring that into a Lincoln City context. So yes, definitely going to stretch me. I'm learning fast, every day working, more and more with these people. But that's incredibly exciting because already you could feel the growth of the football club through very, very simple ideas and things that we can bring in. And that's where we're definitely incredibly lucky. And yeah, our job's to keep up. That is for sure.
I really like the way you framed it. Because obviously you're not denying the benefit from a financial perspective, but for you, the main lesson is going to be learning. It's true. You're going to have exposure to many, already Ron and Andrew, they're very knowledgeable. We're not going to discover anything new there. Their network and the access that you're going to have to that network is just so important in today's industry. And we were speaking about alignment before. I'm curious, how aligned is your vision with that of Ron and Andrews in terms of where the club can go and how can it evolve over the upcoming years?
Yeah. So one of my jobs and one of our jobs is looking for that fresh new investment and people for us to join the group. But our absolute non-negotiable is our blueprint. So if somebody was going to come in and put a bag of cash on the table and say that they were going to turn Lincoln City into, and I don't know, pick any other football club or any other well-known model, like the honest answer would be thank you, but we're okay. Doesn't matter how big your wallet is, you are joining Lincoln City and you're going to be part of that. Now, that doesn't mean we can't improve it, but we have to be really clear and non-negotiable about who we are and what we are. And the moment that we sell our identity for a short-term win is the moment that it all goes wrong. That will be day one of when it all went wrong. The thing that we have to be really clear on whenever we're bringing people into the club, and Ron was no different. We met Ron 2 years ago through the Jabeur Fund, but we tell our story, we share our vision, we talk about how we can enhance that, but we never sell it and we never change that North Star. That's who we are, and that is what we're aiming for. And I think that is the critical component. So whilst people will come in and majority ownership, I think it's fair to say, could change, 2 or 3 times in the next few years at Lincoln City as various people kind of put in more capital in order to help the growth. The thing that isn't going to change is both our vision and what we are actually trying to achieve. That is not for sale. That is non-negotiable, and we're committed to that. And everybody who's invested knows that. And actually, understanding alignment commitment without trying to just ram it down people's throat. We've been on that journey with the investors as well. Do they understand us? Is there alignment with the wider group? And are we committed to it? Yeah, absolutely. And that way, it clearly never happened. But Ron was never going to come in and then on day 2 go, right, okay, we're going to change it to blue and white stripes. He's net because we've been on that journey together to get understanding, alignment, and commitment.
It's the thing about frameworks, you can apply them to different fields. And what I like about what you just said there is that the identity of the club is above anything else, and the culture, the support of the community. Those are kind of like things that are going to help you establish the base. And obviously from there, it's just a matter of growth, right? Good stuff, Liam. This is being an amazing conversation, and I want to be respectful of your time, but if I may, I'm just going to ask you a couple of more rapid fire questions. I guess I want to start with, in today's world, it's very hard, I would say, for a club in general in football, but I would imagine for a club like Lincoln City as well, to stand out versus not only other football clubs, but other forms of entertainment, call it your Netflix or your video games or whatever, no? So what are you guys doing to kind of stand out and grab attention from new fans? Is it a matter of copying the Wrexham model? I don't know what your thoughts about that are. I don't know. Any thoughts there?
Yeah. So first of all, very quickly on Wrexham, huge respect to the guys there, what they're doing. It's not us, and that's not what we do. And I don't mean that about Liam Scully. I mean that about Lincoln City Football Club. But huge respect for what they're doing. And it's great that we're going to be competitors next year. I know they're Marmite. Some people love them, some people don't. But all I can say is that we have huge respect for them as a football club and what they're doing. Without talking about another framework, Jamie, one of the things that we want to be, I would say, we're really clear on is that people make the difference. And again, you said it earlier, actually, without punching people on the nose that work in this industry, me included. We are not NASA. We're not putting man on the moon. We're not open heart surgery either. So our industry is relatively simple. We can overcomplicate it at time, but it is relatively simple. We don't recruit our team members based on their technical competencies. We recruit our team members based on traits. So we have 3 traits: energizing, exceptional, and edge. And they're broken down. Each of the 3 traits have 3 different layers within it. But it is non-negotiable that you come through the front door at Lincoln City, whether that's as an apprentice in the ticket office or as head groundsman or as head coach, you do not come in the door at Lincoln City unless you can demonstrate a suitable level of those traits. And then it's my job and our job and the development of all the line managers to work with our team members to develop and grow people through those different traits and those different skills. And the reason why we think that makes a difference is that within our industry, broadly speaking, we can teach anybody any technical skill, whether that's through additional training, education, in-house or external. What we're actually looking for is the core purposes, the core beliefs, and the personal qualities that our team members have. So for example, one of the entry points is find a way. So our team members, through interview, through recruitment, and then every day, have to evidence how they find a way. And that is find a way around challenges, overcome hurdles. Is it under? Is it over? Is it round? Is it through? Is it with innovation? Is it with a framework? Whatever it may be. But that's what we test for every day. My job isn't to interview. I can't interview a head coach and then talk to me about 4-3-3 counter press. Da, 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 da. I don't know that. That's not my skill. If I can out coach the head coach, we're in trouble. If I can out finance the finance director, I'm in trouble. If I can outsell the commercial director, we're in trouble. But what we can do is we bring people in based on their traits and really understand that's where we have that compatibility, what we're expecting them to display every day. And then you let the practitioners do their thing. You let the talent do their thing. And that's not just the talent on the field, talent off the field. And that's what I think it's really important. So we've made a full commitment. We recruit, we appraise, we manage based on traits. So what we're talking about is evidence of those traits. It's up to the technicians to do their thing. And as long as we've got that group of people all on the same sheet, then we will achieve special things. So, like Jamie, to come back to you, I can't answer that question because that's not my job. But there's 130 members in our team that absolutely could within their speciality. And I think that's the thing that makes the difference, It's not from Liam Scully, it's from every single one of the Lincoln City team members.
Energizing, exceptional, and edge. I really like that. Actually, the other day I was listening to an interview and they were speaking about a framework for hiring. It's basically very simple. It's like a 2x2, where you just compare skill versus will.
Yeah.
In a way, it's what you're alluding to, right? You can have perfect skills, but at the end of the day, the will to do things, to push yourself, to set high standards, is really within you. And then that's going to help raise the bar of the rest of the team, right? But I really like that. Energizing, exceptional, and edge. And Liam, just to close just a couple of questions on my end, if you have the time. I mean, any other advice you would have for anybody looking to develop a career in the sports industry? And I'm asking because a lot of the people who listen to this show are actually those kind of people, emerging sport, the sports industry leaders of tomorrow. So what advice would you give them?
Yeah, I think the biggest advice I can give is be thoroughly committed to wanting to do this and understand how high a bar it is, and just know that people will judge you on your worst day as well as your best day. Lots of people look at their portfolios or want to showcase what they do on their best day. Of course, we all do, but actually, this industry is a goldfish bowl, and people will judge you based on your worst day. And I think that's the hardest thing. The other thing I'd say is don't get into it unless you absolutely are sure you want to. This is not a job. This is a way of life. It's a brilliant way of life. I love it. I don't work. I just get paid to have fun. But it is a way of life, and you have to be genuinely committed to that. And I meet a lot of people going through the education system. I guest lecture at a couple of universities, and the only thing that I just look them in the eye, and I just want to know that they really, really, really want this. And if you do, I promise you, people will find a way into the industry, because good people will always make their way to the right roles. That is for sure. But if you only 98% want it, give it up now. Go do something else. That is for sure, because this industry will eat you up, spit you out quite quickly unless you really want it. And I have an anecdote of people either last 6 months or 60 years in this industry, and that's the truth as I see it. And yeah, you've just got to truly want it. But if you do, you should be wholly committed to it. And like I say, whether it's work placements, whether it's your entry level role, just know that people will judge you and appraise you every single moment, every single day.
Well, thank you for that. Good advice, actually. I've heard it similarly from other industry leaders. And overall, Liam, thank you for this conversation, because it's been great. I've learned so much, and I truly mean that. I just need to ask you one more question, because I need to know your opinion on this. And the thing is, last year at World Football Summit, we launched a rebrand. Basically, we believe the football industry needs to become more professional. I'm sure that with all the frameworks that you shared today, many will learn to be more professional. that we need to embrace innovation, new ways of growth, and set sustainability as a priority. And when I speak about sustainability, I speak about three pillars, which is financial, environmental, and social. We summarized all of this under the claim, the football we want, the football we need. So if I were to ask you very briefly, 1, 2 sentences, how would you define the football you want or the football you need? What would you answer?
Yeah, so very quickly for me, that's tradition is incredibly important in our game, but it cannot be the anchor, and it cannot be the reason why we don't move with modern times, or we don't recognize that society is changing. And I think that's the most important thing. So we can never disregard tradition. We can never be glib or pay lip service to it. But what it can't be is it can't be used as the lazy and the cheap excuse not to want to move forward, not to want to pioneer, not to want to innovate. There are some outstanding people that do phenomenal things, outside of our industry. And our job is to have our head up, to look at that and to follow, and to ensure that we're moving in step and in time with wider society. So for example, of one of your three pillars, our fans are going to expect us to be carbon neutral very, very quickly. And we have to start that journey now. Just because, it's not been called for hugely loudly in the UK market right now. Maybe not, but we absolutely need to be prepared and move that. And that's, just one small example. So yeah, I could not agree more with what you said. And like I said, the balance is how we manage tradition. 140 years on this badge here on my chest, but it can't be the rationale, can't be the reason not to grow, not to progress. We've just got to be sensitive and respectful of it.
Beautifully said. Thank you, Liam. Any last words, anything that you want to share with the audience? The floor is yours.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Just thank you very much for having me on. It's been a real pleasure. I'm on LinkedIn as well. If anybody wants to connect, always I love a chat. We have a self-help group of CEOs and other C-suite leaders in the WhatsApp community and things like that. And yeah, our job, we're the best of thieves, always stealing ideas off each other. So yeah, all I'd say is, I'd love to connect with as many people as I can. And yeah, if you think I do things right, wrong, love to hear from you. Always up for that check and challenge as well. So hopefully, look forward to connecting with many of your listeners as well.
Fantastic, Liam. Thanks so much. Hey, this has been great. You're welcome back anytime. Just tell us how the club is evolving and everything that you guys are doing. So, and of course, you're always welcome to our events. So, just at any point, just reach out. Thank you, Liam. Have a great day.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And there you have him, Liam Scully, CEO at LinkedIn City. And you know what? That was so much fun. If you listen to the very end, you should realize you just listened to a fantastic sports business masterclass. And I hope that you actually share it. I'm going to try to summarize it, but there's so many things in terms of everything that, Liam is doing. Let's start. And we started off speaking about the role of the CEO. And I really like the way he was saying that community and civic and culture are among his priorities. It's the same framework, almost to the T, that Peter Moore was sharing on the show. So, you realize that when, these football property CEOs are sharing the same framework, there's something there that you should learn, right? And then, I really like the way he was saying, just keep things simple. At the end of the day, there's so many things going on, but what you really should understand is, what does your fan want? What does your commercial partner want? Keep things simple. And from there, really understand what the community is expecting from you. And to that point, don't forget about his fantastic framework of understanding, alignment, and commitment to everything that you do. If there's anything that you should take away from this episode, I would suggest it's that. Again, I'm going to repeat it. It's understanding, it's alignment, and it's commitment. And why I'm saying this is you can apply this to everything. You can apply this to innovation. You can apply this to the way you're having relationships with your commercial partners. You can apply this to the way you're, engaging with your teams. It's just such a fantastic framework. And overall, just from there, really understand what the brand that you represent is all about. You know, what are the expectations of the community that you're serving, right? Other fantastic frameworks that he was saying, in terms of leadership, are the traits he looks for. So the 3 E's: energizing, exceptional, and edge. Again, that's another fantastic framework to add to your playbook. And hopefully, you can apply this to your own organization. And in terms of maybe not related to what we're discussing here, but, just think about the word commitment. When he looks for innovation, he's so committed to the fact that he needs to include someone from the team fully dedicated to that. And that's something that's not common around football properties today. And I think anybody who really wants to innovate and wants to grow really needs to commit to put the resources needed to actually make that happen. No? So, this is, if I had to sum up, his playbook is about community. It's about growing sustainably, profitably, if you will, about, looking into the financial aspect of the game, but also how to develop both your team, your players, but also develop the community, help them develop in a way and be involved with the club. Anyway, guys, long summary, but there were so many learnings. If there's anything that stood out to you, as always, reach out on social media. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe and rate the podcast on your platform of choice and share with your industry colleagues. You will not believe how much it helps us bring guests like Liam to the show. And nothing else from my side. I want to thank you for tuning into this episode of the World Football Summit podcast. I really hope you enjoyed it, that you learned something new. I learned so many things today, had so much fun. And just want to wish you a great day, and hopefully we'll see you next time.